Now we're going to go ahead and get started with our program. I'll go ahead and tell you that Coach Todd Kirk sent me a message earlier today. The Crusaders are having to get on the road about 1:15 going to Earhart. They're afraid of the traffic going that direction, so they were going to leave a little early. So he sends his thoughts to the group today, and we wish them well against Andrew Jackson Academy tonight. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started with the Clinton Red Devils, Coach Andrew Webb.
All right, thank you, Billy. We are 0-2 at the moment. Our guys are continue to work really hard. We, started out 2 weeks ago at the Lawrence County Championship. It was a really fun game, great atmosphere. That was a tough one for us to walk out of there. We felt like we had a chance to go finish the drive and have a chance to win that thing. And Lawrence made it, one more play than we did. But really fun game, fun atmosphere. It was a pretty clean game for a week one game. There wasn't a whole bunch of sloppy to that game on either side. I know we both put the ball on the ground. I think Lawrence fumbled once. We ended up fumbling twice. But just the overall game was a really clean, fun game. And this past week we played Greer. We did not play well. We did not play a clean game. It was very much, we made mistakes versus a really good football team, and it snowballed on us in the second half. Our guys' effort did not snowball. Our execution snowballed. So, 0-2, guys continue to work hard. We know this group has a chance to be successful because the way they're just resilient and come to work each day. And, we're excited about the opportunity to go play Aiken tonight. Aiken is a team that is 0-3. They have not been able to play consistent. They look, similar to us at times with the way they haven't been able to be consistent. But we have to do the things we have to do to win. And we're excited about that tonight. Is also, we kind of had this dedication. It's our dedication game. All these guys this week, they have dedicated their game to the woman that has inspired them kind of the most in their life. For 90% of them, it's their mother. For a couple of them, it's their grandma, it's their aunt. And these guys on Tuesday night, we had a dinner to honor them. And all our guys, we got into the computer lab a couple days, past couple weeks, and they all wrote a love letter to their mom. Why they love them, how much they love them, why they appreciate them, and they shared that with those ladies Tuesday night. That was real special. So, we look forward to honoring our mothers and those women again tonight. I brought a couple guys with us. Sam Tiller was one of our, just stand up real quick so everybody can see. Sam Tiller is one of our players of the week versus Lawrence. He's our kicker, came in for us, played really good on defense. He is our kickoff guy, not our kicker, kickoff guy. He does a real good job kicking the ball, run down the field, tackle, played a whole bunch of plays on defense for us versus Lawrence. He's now starting for us at outside linebacker. Works really hard. Connor Richardson is a quarterback. He made his first start versus Lawrence and played a really good game. I think he ended up 3 for 4, 3 for 5, like 140 yards and a couple touchdowns. But when we asked him to make plays, he made it. He also ran one in on 4th down, scrambled for probably about 10, 15-yard touchdown run. But he did a fantastic job for us. Tequan Cromer has been player of the week the past 2 weeks. He has been our most consistent player on defense, no doubt. He is the guy that we asked to go cover the other team's best receiver. I know he doesn't look no bigger than a minute, but Tequan is a competitor. And, everything that you see Tequan do day in, day out, and his drills, his footwork, all those things, you can see him directly correlate to the film on Friday night. So he's done a really good job for us. Cody Barn was one of our players of the week versus Lawrence. He's our offensive tackle. He's somebody we're going to continue to rely on. I talked to you a couple weeks ago about Cody, and we're going to continue to rely on him. Brooks Seawright was one of our players of the week versus Greer this past week at guard. It was a second start. He's been really getting better and better. And he's one of the many that we have that work hard. I also brought with Coach Cunningham. Coach Cunningham, you don't have to stand up. You can wave, whatever. Coach Cunningham coaches our defensive backs. He is a Clinton graduate, played for us 2004, 5, and 6. We ended up going to Pikeville, left there as their all-time leading tackler. And, one of the pillars of our program is surround yourself with people on the same mission as you. And, I know having him on our staff, he's on the same mission as me and the rest of us, trying to get Clinton back to where it needs to be. But We sure do appreciate all these guys. Love Coach Cunningham for everything he does for us. Thank you for all your support, and we'll see you again in a couple weeks.
All right, next up, Coach Chris Liner with the Lawrence Raiders.
Before I talk about the games, if anybody's going to Irmo tonight, I got a pocket full of tickets. So just come see me. I'll give you one. It doesn't matter who you are. I don't care. Like Coach Webb said, the first week we played Clinton. It was a tough game. Honestly, I thought it was a pretty even game. It could have gone either way. I thought the difference, honestly, was kind of what he said. We were able to make one more play than them. But honestly, I thought our kicking game was just that slight difference. We were able to finally find a way to learn how to punt and kick the football a little bit. So I thought that gave us gave them some longer fields and some things that, we obviously never really stopped them. We slowed them down at times, but I thought that was the difference is, they had to go 80 yards a lot of times instead of short fields. And when you're playing a team that can just line up and mash you, that's kind of, a major benefit. But it was cool, man. If you were at the game, it was an old school game. It sounded like, somebody had thrown a match in a fireworks stand. I mean, there was a lot of cracks. It wasn't this finesse kind of sissy ball that everybody plays now, the basketball on grass. It was a old school, just flat, get after you, hit you in the teeth, and there was a lot of that going on. The cool thing to me was not even jawing, and I know that Clinton and Lawrence are bitter rivals, and I know there's been years and years of past history where that was the case, but these are just two teams playing football and getting after it, and at the end of the day, you shake hands and, congratulate the winner, and we'll see you next year. So I thought that was awesome. The second week, honestly, there was nothing good about the second week. We flat out sucked. We were terrible. The only good thing that happened Saturday is, I found about $1.44 and change walking around my head down all day in the parking lot. So that was about the only good thing that came out of that game. That and I had whiplash from watching their wideouts go back and forth. And they're a very talented team. Chapman, if you don't know, they beat Dillon for the 3A state championship last year, and they've got 3 or 4 elite skill players that we were not able to stop them, and we turned the ball over 4 or 5 times, and that certainly didn't help our cause. But it was embarrassing, honestly. I didn't sleep at all that Friday night. Not at all, not 1 minute, because I can't stand to be embarrassed. I don't mind to lose. We were embarrassed, and this week we tried to rectify that. Not like we hadn't been doing that since February, working on pass routes and those type of things. But we had a great week of practice, so we're excited about having an opportunity to travel to Irmo tonight, which is 3-0. They've got a beautiful facility. If you're going to that game, they've redone it. They've built a multi-million-dollar end zone, put in turf field. It's awesome. And then, of course, the next couple of weeks, we got Bowling Springs, Durham, and Hillcrest. So it's going to be a challenge for us this month. We're excited about it. That is by design. We planned it that way. We want to play the best folks because I don't think you get better when you don't. So that's what we do. And, we're excited about how this next month transpires. And I think, we've got a chance to be a really, really good team. We're going to start 7 sophomores tonight. That's usually not a recipe for success, but we've got some really talented young guys. We've got some talented older guys too. But we feel like at the end of the year we're going to be a really, really good team, but it's just a process, and we're kind of at the beginning part of that. I brought some guys with us, and I'm just going to start with Devin Hubner right here. I told somebody the other day, all you need to know about Devin Hubner is he called me on dang Sunday and asked me for the kicking bag so he'd go out in the field and kick about every week. He has worked his absolute rear end off, and so far this year he's perfect on PATs and field goals. He's finally learned the ability to kick it in the end zone now. He's an excellent student. So all those things combined, Devin's done a great job. He's been player of the week with Billy and a couple of our own team a couple of weeks. So we're excited about Devin. Devin's a junior. We got Zach Playa here. Zach, to me, is the heart and soul of our team. Zach plays offensive guard for us. He's also an awesome student. In fact, probably the most excited I've ever seen my wife ever in her 4 years of teaching now is my man made 100 on the end of course test for U.S. history. And she came storming down to my office and gave me a high five, and she was jacked. Because U.S. history curriculum has changed over the last 10 or 12 years, and my wife is a million times better teacher than me, and she's been really distraught by some of the demographics and some of the clientele that's now in that U.S. history CP class when they started all the dual enrollment, and I could go on and on about that. But anyway, Zach's an awesome guy. He's a great football player. He's a very good leader. He leads by example, and we're blessed to have him. We got Dwayne Martin right here. Dwayne is a sophomore for us, plays linebacker, also plays running back. If you can't tell, Dwayne's 6'2", 235 pounds a man, and he's also a Phi Beta getter. So this kid, once he figures it out, and he is starting to figure it out, you are going to have a treat. I can promise you that. So we haven't been able to play Dwayne as much at running back because he's had to play almost every play at linebacker. But this past week he had 9 rushes for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. And if you watched him run against Chapman's defense, I wanted to go home and slap myself for not giving him the ball more, earlier in the game. So he's an excellent player, great kid, and also, like I said, a great student. And then we got my man Santonio Kane right here. I asked Santonio Kane to come with us today because I love Santonio Kane, and to me, Santonio Kane is why we play high school football. He is the guy that brings it every single day to practice. And he got him catch last week too. So, he doesn't play a lot, but he is the guy you want on your football team because he does everything right. He's also an excellent student. He's a great encourager in the locker room, and he's just a blessing for me to have him as a part of our team. Appreciate y'all. Hope to see you there tomorrow night.
Okay. Clay Hendrix was named head coach of the Furman Paladins on December the 19th, 2016. He's a former Paladin offensive guard and assistant coach who returned to his alma mater after a decade as an assistant coach at the United States Air Force Academy. Hendrix was an assistant coach at Furman for 19 years, serving as offensive line coach each year, recruiting coordinator for 3 seasons, and assistant head coach over his final 5 seasons. Let's welcome him to the Lawrence County Touchdown Club, Coach Clay Hendrix.
Thank you, Billy. It's obviously an honor to be with you. I got a call. I know this was all new to me. This is year 32 for me as a college football coach, and year 1 as a head football coach. And I've been an OL coach for 31 years. So there have been, I've learned in a short period of time, there's a lot of things I've enjoyed about being the head coach. I've also learned in a short period of time, there's probably a lot of things I have not enjoyed about being the head coach. But it's been great. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I was here for a long, long time. I'm a Georgia native. I grew up in a little town in northeast Georgia, very similar to this area, really not as big. That's hard to believe. I had 79 in my graduating class. But just to be a part of 2 unbelievably storied programs in the state of South Carolina. If you know much about, I'm kind of one of those old history football buffs, and when you're riding to a lot of those towns when you're recruiting, I'd always kind of go find a football stadium. I just kind of want to look at it. And certainly, you guys are at 2 unbelievable places, from the history of high school football. I played at a place like that. I think the time I was there, I think we were the second winningest program in the state of Georgia during that time. And so, probably when you go back and, I've been fortunate to be a part of a number of pretty good teams and have some experiences. And when you go back and, if you can do something again, that's probably what I choose to do. My last game as a player in high school, we won a state championship. My last game as a player in college, we lost a national championship. My first year as a coach, we won a national championship. Played. I've had a chance, at Air Force to do some things, but I think if I can go back and do it, that's maybe what I'd go back and do, is have a chance to do that one more time. I might be good for about 2 plays. That's probably all I can handle. But, a guy called, Harold Nichols, Billy and I were talking to Harold Nichols called me and said, hey, I've known Harold forever, and said, hey, would you come down and speak? And I said, well, this was all kind of new to me, and I said, well, just tell me a little bit about the group, And so he said, well, it's Coach Gall, and Coach Dixon, and he started down the list, and when he got through, I said, Coach Richardson, I said, well, am I supposed to, do you think I can say no? I said, I don't think I probably had an option, but again, just appreciate the opportunity to be here with you. You know, football's been really good to me, and it's funny to be in this room and seeing Coach Galton talk. We're a little more connected in some ways that a lot of people really wouldn't know. I came to Furman in the fall of 1982. Played for a guy, Dick Sheridan, who played for Callie Galt. Callie Galt was a teammate of Bart Baker's, you know, who had been the previous coach to Coach Sheridan at Furman. Billy was telling me, I think one of your renowned all-time favorite speakers is a guy by the name of Robbie Caldwell. Robbie Caldwell was my position coach. I've heard all the stories, more times than you have. A lot of them still are not true, or some of them are still trying to decide whether they're true or not. But then I had a chance, you know, Coach Sheridan's first 2 years at NC State. I followed him up there after I graduated from Furman, was a GA for Robbie Caldwell, and had a chance to be around those guys. When I got to Furman, just as I was getting there, a guy by the name of Buddy Jennings was leaving Furman to come to Lawrence High School. So there's all kind of little connections there. And so, you know, when you look at it, you're talking about being blessed to be around great people, you know, really my entire career. You know, and a lot of that's luck, a lot of that's a blessing. I'd like to think a lot of it's been choice. You know, like you kind of choose who you want to be with. And sometimes it's nice in life to have options and choices. And I've tried to continue that as I've gone through coaching, even when I made the move to Colorado. You know, just to me, it always kind of become really important who I was with, who was I around. You know, that I still coach because I like to coach. You know, but you know, after you know, playing there, I came back. I was at Furman for 19 years. I'm a little bit unusual in our profession. I've had 2 jobs in 31 years. And I'm actually back at the first job of where I was. And so, again, truly blessed to have had an opportunity to do that. Had a lot of success at Furman there when I was there as an assistant. I get a call, really out of the blue, and had a few chances to leave over the years. Just never really, you know, I was really happy where I was. I've kind of grown accustomed to coaching a certain kind of kid. I enjoyed that. I get a call, you know, about an opportunity possibly at the Air Force Academy. I'll never forget, I was sitting there, my wife was sitting in the chair. And we had a connection, and she, you know, she says, "Who is that?" And I said, "Well, it's the Air Force Academy." And then, you know, this look on her face. And I said, we're not going to the Air Force Academy. And 2 weeks later, I'm there. You know, I've been there for 10 years. But you know, I had a chance to go out there, a guy by the name of Troy Calhoun. We were following a guy by the name of Fisher DeBerry. Another one of those guys, South Carolina guy. You know, who is everything you want to be about. You know, at least I did. You know, the kind of man he was, certainly the reputation he had as a coach. My wife had grown up in Charlotte, South Carolina, where he was from. My wife was Leanne, his wife was Luann. He always reminded me of that. But I had a chance to go there. You know, Troy Calhoun's the guy. Troy's still there. He's a grad. And I know a lot of you old coaches, you know, he's the same kind of guy. You know, you guys remember Eric Hyman. Eric Hyman, South Carolina athletic director here, who was an assistant at Furman when I came there. I ran into him at a banquet one night. He was asking me about Troy, and I said, well, you know, probably the best way to describe him is he would be a pretty good cross between Dick Sheridan and Bobby Johnson. And when I said that, he looked at me kind of, he said, really? I said, yeah. I said, that'd be the best way to describe him. So, you know, Bobby Johnson's another one of those guys. I think he's maybe been here before. But just having a chance to be around some unbelievable people. And, you know, from a guy in a little town, Commerce, Georgia, and I can remember being out west for 10 years. And, you know, whether you were in Boise, Idaho, whether you were in San Diego, you know, Salt Lake City, Utah, there were just some times you wondering, you know, how did they ever end up here? kind of my new thing. I quit running a long time ago. My new thing was kind of go out and walk. And we'd go some pretty neat places to go play, and you get a chance to go and do some things that really never would have had an opportunity to do otherwise. And really, it all goes back to the football part of it. And, you know, so 10 great years. We went to 9 bowl games. I coached in 20 service academy games. And, you know, that's one of those you still kind of get a little bit of chill thinking about it. It's unlike anything I've ever been a part of. You know, you've always watched, you know, as an old Air Force guy, I had 0 military in my background, so it was all new to me. And, you know, if you're an Air Force guy, you cringe a little bit when they always talk about the Army-Navy game. You know, I think we were 9-1 against Army in the 10 years I was there. We won 4 trips to the White House, which was a pretty neat experience. But just having those experiences and having a chance to be around those kids. The other thing I realized when I got there, for all the things that you heard about service academies, and they're true for the most part, but, you know, really when I look back at it, I said, you know, these are all the things that Coach Sheridan taught us at Furman. You know, the programs were built on the same principles, you know. It was discipline and hard work and being a good guy. And you know, I think that adjustment for me when I went there was not a big deal. We had really high standards for kids that we recruited, certainly both academically and just as guys, you know. So that adjustment was not very difficult for me. You know, I had a couple of chances to leave there. Didn't really feel like it was something I wanted to do. Even with Furman possibly being an option. And then, you know, then last year, after year 10, had an opportunity to come back, you know, Furman, and you know, it's been great for us to be back. You know, I get back, and when you start looking around, you're trying to decide, figure out what maybe the problems were. For the great run of success we had all those years, and had done it at you know, we play with true student athletes. It's not that way everywhere. It's not that way many places, to be honest with you. One of the things what I learned a little bit about was, you know, setting a plan, having a plan, hiring really good people. You know, I went and I actually hired 2 Air Force captains that had played for us. One of them was a young guy named Pete Lusk. He'd actually played offensive line for me when I first got to the academy. Well, his job in the Air Force was he worked on satellites. And he'd been back coaching at the prep school for 2 years out there, and had been only in football a couple of years. You know, at the end of the day, you want to hire a few guys, and particularly at the FCS level, there is a budget. You know, there's a staff budget. I was able to hire some, you know, a really kind of wide range of guys, but there were a couple of things I was really looking for. I really wanted really good people. You know, I had a guy that kept trying to get me to hire a chaplain for our football team. And I said, you know what, that's extremely important to me. It really is. But what I'd rather do is hire enough coaches, you know, that can set that example. You know, because at the end of the day, I have X dollars, you know, to work with, trying to put a staff together. You know, we hired some older guys that I thought had been really good football coaches, really good people. Mixed it with some really smart guys. I'm certainly not the smartest guy in the room, but I was smart enough to go hire a bunch of smart guys. You know, Pete was working on satellites. I hired another boy by the name of Ken Laminola. Ken had played linebacker for us. Ken had just finished a project working on Air Force One. You know, and these 2 guys are 7-year captains. I said, now y'all realize in 13 years you can retire from the Air Force. I said, anybody in America will hire you. You can find it. They said, no, coach, we want to coach. And I said, you know, your pay's not going to be the same as it was as a 7-year captain. They said, we understand that, coach. We understand. But hiring a few guys like that, I heard a guy by the name of George Quarles who I'd played with, and I know Chris, we talked about earlier. George is the guy from Maryville, Tennessee, that at one time he had won more state championships than he had losses. I think in 18 years he lost 16 games. and wanted to come back and be with us. And so that was just kind of the plan of getting the staff together and really educating those guys to what we're looking for. And a lot of people don't think you can kind of do it and be successful that way. But it was really, for us, it was recruiting high character kids who love to play football, okay, who can appreciate what a Furman degree can do for them. And I've seen what an academy degree can do, and I've certainly seen what a Furman degree can do. It opens doors. I'm one of those that believes you can go anywhere and get a great education. I mean, you work hard, a lot of things can happen for you, but there are certain places where you're going to have a few more opportunities because of what you did, where you went to school. But just finding enough kids that believe in those things, even if it meant sometimes he wasn't the very best player, maybe he was there. When I got back, as I tried to observe what was going on, Furman, I'm not standing here today because they weren't graduating players. And they were still graduating players. But one of the things I did learn, Furman was still hard to graduate from. And a lot of those guys were coming in and they were struggling the whole time they were there. They were making it through there. They weren't very happy. They didn't have a great experience because they couldn't enjoy the good things about the place because of always struggling with school. They weren't very fun to coach. And they probably left not feeling great about Furman. And so it's changing the whole mindset of raising the bar, really, everything we do. We still want to be really, really talented. That hadn't changed. But find enough of those guys who understand those other things are just as important. And then certainly putting them in a situation from an X&O standpoint, coaching-wise, it still gives them a chance to be successful. I think probably one of the best coaching or coaching advice I got. The last 2 years at the academy, I worked with a guy named Ron Vanderlyn. I don't know if you remember Ron. Ron was a long time coach. He was with Gary Barnett back in Colorado. He was in Colorado when they won the national championship back early 90s. He was with Gary Barnett at Northwestern. You think about Northwestern, went to 2 Rose Bowls at Northwestern. He was the defense coordinator, was the head coach at Maryland. He was a guy who really had recruited all those guys that let him go, and then Ralph Friedgen came in and had all that success, with those guys. And then he spent the last 12 years before he came to us at Penn State with Coach Paterno. Just a great man, and we became pretty good friends. And I think the best piece of advice he gave me was, Coach, do it the way you want to do it. So when it doesn't work out, you got nobody to blame but yourself. Or if it doesn't work out, you got nobody to blame but yourself. So I've kind of tried to apply that, and part of it has been educating our kids, or educating our coaches. This is what we're looking for. I kind of feel like I've arrived a little bit when one of those young Air Force guys comes to the place and says, Coach, I don't know if he's our guy. I don't know if he's our guy. I've asked all those questions you told me to ask. We've done all the background. You got to ask stuff, and you usually don't ask the coach. Go ask the guidance counselor, ask his English teacher, ask the principal, because really for us, we wanted that guy, if you go to the principal, he goes, Coach, that's the best kid in this school. That's who we want. And that's kind of what we're doing moving forward, and I think it's gone really, really well up to this point in time. The honeymoon ended last week. We scored with about 24 seconds to go, and we've been on the field almost the whole fourth quarter on defense, and we already lost a linebacker for the year, and we went for 2. And I thought we executed pretty well. Their kid made a play, and that was kind of the difference in the game. We played 17 freshmen. Tomorrow we'll probably play 20, because that number will go up a little bit. I looked out one time, and we had 7 freshmen playing offense at one time. And that's certainly not a great recipe for success immediately. I'm an OOL guy. We had 2 redshirt freshman offensive tackles playing against a really good defense. So, but it'll be a process. I'm trying to impress upon our kids that we have a plan. We're going to stick to the plan, and there are going to be some bumps in the road. Already had one. We line up tomorrow. We play Elon, and it's funny. Somebody asked me about him. guy by the name of Kurt Signetti. You've heard that name, Signetti family in college football. Is renowned. You know, he was an assistant for Nick Saban in Alabama. Most recently been at IUP, really good division team up there in his first year. Game 2, they went to Toledo, played a really good Toledo team a week ago, so they come to us tomorrow. And I told our team, I said, you know, they probably had us circled for a while. This is a game we can win. You know, you're hoping you see the improvement from week 1 to week 2. I'm sure they're hoping to see that same kind of improvement. But really just again, I look back at just having the opportunities and the people that I've been around who truly have had a profound effect on me. And again, just blessed to be able to say I had a chance to be around those guys. And then, you know, really for us having a plan going forward, being back in South Carolina. You know, I have to be careful saying this sometimes, but, you know, thank the Lord I'm back in South Carolina. You spent 10 years in the state of Colorado. Everything you hear about Colorado, most of it's true. You know, good and bad. You know, good and bad. It was a great experience for us. You know, it really was, but it has been so fun to be back. My wife's 2 miles from her parents. In Greenville, I'm about an hour and a half from my home. We've been away a long time. You know, it wasn't, all of my recruiting was back over here. We had to recruit nationally, and so I think I looked it up one day, I was 1,800 miles from my first school when I left the state of Colorado to recruit, because I had still mostly the Southeast. At the time, we had more players, I think, from Georgia than any other state. You know, but it was just kind of how it was. And here, you know, I get to Furman, and there's a lot of people still there that would like me to kind of expand our recruiting base. And I just, you know, are you going to give me more money to expand our recruiting base? I said, you know, we'll still be a Southeastern school, even though our standards do limit us. You know, for admissions, we do have to cast a little bit wider net. That's okay. You know, I really kind of see that as a positive. You know, we just learning to stay the course as we go. You know, I was hoping Tommy Spangler, I know Tommy forever. You know, Tommy, we go way back at PC. Tommy was, I think in 1985, my last game as a player, we go to, of all places, you know, we go to Tacoma, Washington to play Georgia Southern, you know, for the national championship. We ended up, I think, losing 11 seconds ago. It was 44-42. I've never gotten over that one. Came back in 1988, my first year coaching. Guess what? We played Georgia Southern again for the national championship. This one's closer. It's in Pocatello, Idaho. But we've gone way back, and you know, I know people around here are thrilled to have him at PC. We're a great football coach. Just wrap. Any questions by anybody? Just going forward. You know, we've got Elon here tomorrow. We go to NC State next week. People asked if we can keep our streak going. We went up there in 1984 and 85, won both times. I was playing, that was a long time ago. I said, you know, it's a little different than it used to be. I said, you know, we were pretty good, they weren't. I said, things have changed a little bit. And I said, I think in 1985, we looked it up one day, the ACC payout for their conference teams, you know, was less than $1 million. You know, and the Southern Conference payout was 0. Well, in 2017, the Southern Conference payout is still 0, and the ACC payout is a little over $30 million a year. So that's really where there's a gap there. There's a gap there, and so that's kind of what's changed. You see all these rules we were talking about, you know, football, and I know some of them I don't think are sometimes always good for the game. They're good for certain people. You worry about the gap widening so much. But I just, for me, and I think probably having been at Furman before, you know, I understood some restrictions, you know. I don't think I ever painted the fields, but I've done a lot of paint the fields type jobs. I can remember getting to the academy, and we had a number of guys out there that had never done any of that kind of stuff. There were a couple of us that had, and we would sit and laugh at them sometimes. But just being back and having, you know, our people have made a major commitment, you know, to us, fundraising, just trying to give us every opportunity to be successful. And, we just need to do our part. And, I'm an old school kind of guy. I still believe you got to run the ball and stop the run. And yeah, we want to throw it around. And, we had a 100-yard receiver last week. And, but at the end of the day, we try to keep it as simple as we can. And, I told our team again yesterday, we have one thing that you have to be a part of us. You have to be a good guy. If you're not a good guy, you're not going to be a part of us. And, I think that goes back to doing it the way you want to do it. That's where we're going to do it. And we do have a bunch of good guys. I can't fault the group of kids. We had a few when I first got back that maybe didn't feel like that fit their category, so they're not with us any longer. But I think those things, if you set standards, expectations, hold them to those, okay? Find an identity, which we're trying to recreate that right now. And I was always a little careful about using the culture, because I didn't want to say what their culture was, but I know what I want our culture to be, going forward. And that's just kind of how we're moving forward. But, I just appreciate you having me. We'd love to have you there anytime. It is still an unbelievable place to come watch a football game. Hey, you come tomorrow, you be home in time to watch the Clemson game. Okay? Because when I got back, Mike Buddy, our AD, asked me when they said, Coach, when do you want to play? I said, I want to play it afternoon. I said, I want to play it tonight. I said, college football. And I know TV, you think this is bad now. In the Mountain West, when I was there, we had a joint agreement between CBS and ESPN. And, we were the same way. They only had to tell you, I think, 10 days prior to when your game was going to be. Well, in the Mountain West, and by the way, the Mountain West payout last year, I think, was about $1.8 million. And we were the next category of schools below Power 5. So you're talking about a gap. Still, there's a huge gap there. Well, we had this joint venture with ESPN, and basically the way it worked was if you're on ESPN, ESPN2, or CBS National, you got a $500,000 bonus for playing that game. Well, we once or twice maybe a year. And then when you look at it, at the end of the year, here was our 8 teams in the league. Well, they went back for 5 years. Boise State in those 8 years, it was like $7.3 million. The second place team was like 1.8. So even within your conference, there's a huge difference. Well, they always have these slots, and I recruited back east, and I don't know how many times I got told by kids, Coach, I tried to watch the game, but it was midnight, y'all was second quarter. I couldn't stay up. I said, I know how you are. I've been out there for 10 years now. I remember walking in the locker room, we kicked off, it was an 8:20 ESPNU game, and we were in San Jose, California. And, well, they bumped it because the game before went over because of all the basketball on grass. And now you're kicking off at 8:45 Pacific time. And they said, oh, by the way, they closed the airport in San Jose. 11 o'clock was there. Now we have to go out to San Francisco just to fly back to Colorado Springs. So there was all kinds of things you just kind of learn. I have learned, worry about stuff that matters and don't worry about stuff that doesn't matter. And sometimes you got to distinguish what that is. But again, it is still an awesome place to come watch a game. I think it will be a fun bunch to watch play. And again, if that matters to you and true playing kids, it truly matters to you, what kind of people and students there are, our kids will be a great bunch to watch. But thank you for having me. Look forward to it. We'll look forward to seeing you again.
All right, we got a few door prizes.